I'm seeing red to a higher level again. Hear the voice inside my head telling me this is not the end. I'm seeing red to a higher level again. Hear the voice inside my head telling me this is not the end. I'm seeing. I'm seeing. Loaded. Here I come. Leaning on your back. Always at the ready to attack. I'm seeing red to a higher level again. Hear the voice inside my head telling me this is not the end. I'm seeing red to a higher level again. Hear the voice inside my head telling me this is not the end. I'm seeing. I'm seeing. I'm seeing I'm seeing red to a higher level again. Hear the voice inside my head telling me this is not the end. I'm seeing red to a higher level again. Hear the voice inside my head telling me this is not the end. I'm seeing. I'm seeing. I'm seeing red. I'm seeing red. I'm seeing red. I heard was something clank on the ground right there.
Yeah, it was. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Second Amendment Ranch tonight. Hope everybody's doing well.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As promised last week, we are going to talk about some muzzleloader do's and don'ts. Whatever comments, recommendations you want, requests, we are more than willing to fulfill that request. And thankfully tonight we do have another guest.
We do. One of the people from our chat room there last week we talked to and everything. So tonight, everybody, we have Dan Meadows, known as Chasing Wolf. He does a blog talk radio show and everything, and he's our guest tonight. I'll bring him right up. Hey, Dan, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing very well. How are you all this evening?
Great. Welcome to the Second Amendment Ranch.
Wonderful to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you. It'd be interesting. You ready to talk about some muzzleloader fails and do's and don'ts?
Oh, certainly.
Now, I don't personally have a muzzleloader. I know Carl does, so he's going to be a little more knowledge about these. But I do have a couple of do's, don'ts, some entertaining, and I kind of want to get y'all's take on this.
Now, before the show, you told me you had an M2A1, M2A1 or
82 A1.
M82. Okay, so I'm jealous. Just wanted to put that out there.
With a lot of ammo too, tucked away somewhere.
How do you have any ammo right now?
Yeah, but I bet he don't have it tucked away like they got in the UK.
Yeah.
Oh no.
If you missed that, we did have a guest from the UK come on our show when we talked about their laws. And yeah, they have to have a TV license to watch television.
And
Seriously.
Yes.
your basic regular deer hunting rifle, bolt action, to give you an
Right.
example. Okay, over there in the UK, you got to take the bolt out, take the clip out with the ammunition. You got to store the rifle in one room in a storage place, the bolt in another room in a storage place, and the ammo in another room in a storage place, right? And then the police over there in Wales, where he lives, get to come in twice a year and make sure those pieces are where they're supposed to be at.
Oh, certainly. You have a very similar laws up in Canada. I lived there for a number of years. Worked up in Canada. My wife is a Canadian citizen. She's a U.S. Legal, I might add, green card person here in these United States. And I
Yeah.
lived up there. And exactly right. You got to tuck it here, put it there, shove it over yonder, and then you are subject. And then if you wanted to go to a gun range, y'all were talking about a gun range earlier. You want to go to a gun range, you have got to call the OPP, let them know when you're leaving, when you plan to arrive at the gun range. No stops for Tim Hortons coffees and stuff. No stops anywhere. And then when you return home, you got to let them know how long you're going to be there. And when you return home, same thing. Then you can clean it, put it away, pack it away, strip it down, hither and yonder, and that's what it is in Canada also.
And that's
Yeah.
the reason we do this show, is we want to educate people on the risks of what's possible, what the possibility of this happening is if all of these laws pass. And in fact, we have several laws we're going to talk about tonight. Colorado is trying to pass one there, and there are two, and now Diana Feinstein is trying to ban ARs entirely. So,
And she did that back in the 90s as well.
Yeah, she did with Bill Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
Ropey Joe.
I know, but that's what we try to show people is what's going on in other countries, that if they don't open their eyes and open their mouths, it could happen right here in the United States.
Oh, very much so. And unfortunately, with how Facebook is, we are somewhat shadow banned, so our reach and views aren't as good as what they really are. Because, and technically, Travis, a muzzleloader, I believe, falls under a firearm in America. Now, if I remember right, it is not in the UK. I want to say
Right.
so. Technically, a felon cannot have a muzzleloader in the United
Right.
States.
They can have a
Air
bow,
rifles
a compound bow, a long bow, and a crossbow.
and air rifles.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, air rifles can kill.
Very much so.
4,500 pounds of pressure will cut a human being in half. That's one of those things you learn when you're on a submarine dealing with 4,500 pound pressures.
Yeah. But
Yeah, for everybody that keeps forgetting, most of us here are military veterans. I'm a Navy veteran. I am also a submarine veteran. And no, I did not just build on submarines. No, I actually went on 6 patrols on submarines.
Submariner.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, that was fun, especially when you hear one of those reliefs lift and they sound like a gunshot. Oh, you want to scare some people? That's a good way to do it.
Wow.
But to start us off, we're going to do with the secret to black powder muzzleloader hunting tips to help you bag the big one. You can find this on blog.ganderoutdoors.com. All of this that we're going to cover today. Now, I would like to remind a lot of our viewers that some of this stuff gets a little drony. monotone. We do try and make it as entertaining as possible, but again, the purpose of the show is to be educational. Dad's proud of his vets because 2 of his kids are military. I went Navy, Noel went Air Force. But to start us off, they start with saying practice makes perfect. And that's honestly across the board with any firearm you get. Saying practice makes perfect for a muzzle loader, you do need to go out more often, especially depending on your muzzle loader. Some people still like to have the smooth bore muzzle loaders. Now, Carl, is yours rifled or is yours smooth bore?
Mine is smoothbore.
Yeah. So practice. If you don't know what I mean when I say smooth bore versus rifled, I'm talking about the threading inside a rifle. So what they do is they pass a drill mill through a rifle barrel and take out at a certain angle shavings of metal on usually 3 to 5 sides to help spin the round when it comes out, so it has a more straight trajectory. And if you have a smooth bore, that round is, especially with most, if not any smooth bore, the round you're using is a ball versus, a bullet. And, this should tell you I have a problem when I have ammo just sitting by my desk. But this is what you typically see coming out. It's got the point to it versus a ball. So practice is more necessary on a muzzle loader for the fact of having that smooth bore. You need to figure out where your rounds are going to go, especially if you do want to use it for hunting, because again, a lot of states have different hunting seasons, and in certain seasons you can only utilize a bow or a muzzle loader. So if you want to hunt during that time of the year, you need to get proficient with either a bow or that muzzle loader.
Right. And they got some muzzle loaders out there now that will reach 300 yards with no problem.
Something to add to it is whether it's a modern gun or a muzzle loader, handheld or long rifle style, too many people try to practice at longer ranges to begin with. If you're a golfer, you always want to work on your short game first. And I say that the same thing with firearms. Work on your short game first. I've watched and I've taught concealed carry for a number of years. I've watched people that couldn't hit. It's what is it? First bounce, you get to hit and hit your target and such. They I've seen people stand there, hit the railings, hit the wires and everything, at the cables and everything going out at anywhere from 5 to 15 yards away. So work on your short game first. And when we talk about practice, I'm one who, not so much with a muzzle loader, but with other firearms, I'd literally put tens of thousands, in some hundreds of thousands of rounds down range. Of course, it was someone else buying most of those rounds, but I put a lot of those rounds down range in practice, not only for myself, but when I've taught other people. Same thing with your muzzle loader. You need to go out. You need to plan some a timeline out there for you to participate in your favorite shooting sport, especially with a muzzle loader, and you continue to practice. But practice the short game before you get proficient with the long game. I can take people out with AR-15s, AR-10s, and teach them to shoot 300 yards at an 8-inch steel target in less than an hour, and hit it rather consistently each and every ding. But you get some people out there who, even with a handheld gun, like whether it's a Glock or a Ruger or a Colt or whatever, and they can't hit it, 10, 15, 20 yards. So you got to practice that short game first.
And unfortunately, when you get in situations where you really need to utilize a firearm, your short game is going to be more effective than long range.
Exactly.
And my thing I like to personally do is I like to find out where my bullet drop is supposed to start, sight in at that range. So if I'm using one that it drops at 200 yards, I want to sight that gun in at 200 yards and utilize that gun from 200 plus because I do have multiple firearms. I want to find what ranges I'm comfortable in, but I also have that capability because of the number of firearms I have. But yes, short game is going to be more where you need to get that training and education in for hazardous situations, whether it be with an AR or a pistol, a shotgun, something like that, because every gun is going to operate differently. You know, if you take a Colt versus a Glock, how does that Glock feel in your hand compared to the 1911? How are you going to handle that gun versus, going to an AR or a shotgun? Do you know how wide your spread's going to be at 10, 15 yards versus 6 yards? So he hit the nail on the head right there, saying you need to work on your short game a lot. When you go for hunting and you want to go for more long range, then you can build up to it.
Right.
And you got your maximum effective distances versus just, putting something down range. Too many times people put rounds down range, wasting ammo when they're not even, trying to stay focused on the target that, that they're trying to strike, that they're trying to hit at, whatever the linear length is. So you've absolutely got to practice at that comfort zone as you're talking about, but also at your maximum effective range as well, and try not to go beyond that. The same thing with your archery sports. There, Carl, you were talking about earlier, and distances and such. Why waste it? Why possibly not harvest that animal with a stray shot, a shot that's not going to take it down?
Exactly. That's like we talked about earlier in the chat when you and me was chatting. I do a lot of hunting with crossbows, right? Yeah, I got it zeroed in at 100 yards. I got a 405 feet per second crossbow. I'm not going to shoot a deer at 100 yards with it. I'm not taking that chance. I might go 50 and 55 be about the farthest I would push it on with that crossbow.
I'd say that's kind of situational as well for hunting, because if I haven't seen anything all day and I see something about 80 yards out, I'm getting a little antsy and want to get my meat for the year, and that big buck comes around that tree line, I might risk taking the shot then. But but
you don't want to wound the animal.
No.
You want to make sure you penetrate it and do a clean kill.
Exactly.
That's what and everything is. And I've seen guys with crossbows out there, a recurve crossbow, 35, you're pushing it at 40 yards to hit with a recurve.
Certainly.
And you can see.
And I've seen them try to shoot 60 and 70 yards. And I'm like, you're just throwing the bolt down there.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see quite a few animals walking around with arrows or bullet wounds all the time. There's photos and videos everywhere. A bird has a bow arrow through its chest, missed any vitals. So it's just, you need to get the effective shot on it so that animal, one, doesn't suffer, and two, you can harvest the meat.
That's exactly right. Same thing with your rifle.
Exactly. Well, I mean, 338 Lapua getting thrown at you from any range is going to blow a chunk out of you. So that
you're going to blow half the deer away.
Hey, man, I told you last week, we're just pre-grinding the meat to make it easier to process.
Right.
Little tenderizing. Little tenderizing.
Yeah, little tenderizing.
Yeah, you hit it. You hit it where you're supposed to. It'll tear that part out. That I don't worry about.
Yeah.
The rest
don't have
of
to worry about bleeding it either.
Yeah, that's true. It'll bleed out.
But that actually goes into the next topic they want to cover is consistency is key. What he was talking about, find your comfort zones, find where you're accurate at, where you can get those kill shots. So you don't want to take a muzzleloader out and you're accurate at 100 yards and you see something at 200 yards. You take the shot, you skin its butt, and deer runs off. Or, you piss a bear off. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm hunting and the only thing I have is a muzzleloader on me, one, I have screwed up. But two, trying to reload that with a 600+ pound animal charging at me, I'm going to need a new pair of pants. So if you're accurate Go ahead.
Cameron, I think you were talking about one last night or yesterday evening or late, the skier who was being chased by the bear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We were talking about that on 1700 somewhere.
But they wish they had a gun.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So if you see me hunting, I've probably got 2 or 3 guns on me because I want my main firearm. And if that thing comes too close, I want to be able to go to something else and continue to throw rounds at it. Because if you haven't seen the topic, we did cover a episode where a bear got into like 100 kilograms of cocaine and was the most dangerous apex predator on the planet before his heart blew up. So just
unbelievable.
Well, you take that video of the hiker walking down the trail and sees that baby mountain lion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, mama's out there and he's walking backwards and she's coming at him. She lunges at him 2 or 3 times. That guy there is going, that's when I needed a handgun.
Exactly. And that's why I want to get the Taurus Raging Judge Magnum, because like you get 45 long Colt, 454 Cazul, and 410 shotgun all out of one gun.
Right. It's like Richie says in there, don't go into the timber without a weapon.
Exactly. Exactly. You need to be prepared for everything.
It depends on what part of the country you're in and what timber you go into. There are animals in there that can kill you and eat you real quick.
Oh, very much so.
And
that's why we talk about a lot that there's no such thing as an all-purpose gun on this show. So you need to see what you can run into while you're out.
Exactly.
You know, I write a bunch of articles, and one of the sayings I put in it is that you need to be trained and ready for the next moments of your life, because you never know what's going to take place, following that. So, in the wilderness of the unknown, you need to be trained up and ready at all times.
And that's exactly the purpose of the ranch, is to train everybody for the unknown.
Whether it be hunting in the timber, home defense,
you could be out
becoming
fishing.
a big deal nowadays anyway.
Yeah, you could be out fishing and something could come up. When we go fishing, and when we specifically when we go bank fishing, when we're out on the boat, it's a completely different story. But when we bank fish, we always have at least 2 guns on us. One is usually a pistol, and the other is an AR sitting in the truck.
Yep.
That way, whatever happens, we're prepared. So know what your odds, because we have fished in some less than pleasant areas. In fact, one of the first real fishing areas I set up in Kingwood, there was a meth house about 400 yards away. So we always had some type of deterrence.
Either for the 2 or the 4-legged animals.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You never know, man. Again,
you never know anymore who's out there.
Exactly. You could be fishing under a bridge and a hobo could come up and try and stab you. You could be going to the grocery store and in the parking lot, somebody tries to steal your kids. So you need to prep for, a gun is a day-to-day item for me. It's not uncommon for me to have at least one firearm near me doing anything. Going to the store, going to work, going fishing, going, wherever I'm going, I want to have some kind of protection on me. I'm a big, scary guy, but I've got a bad back, and they don't need to know that. But I'd like to have that one little ace in the hole versus they've got a knife and I'm going to get cut for the day.
Nerf guns and water pistols.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, we are.
We're talking about Nerf.
Yeah, like Richie said, he's been attacked fishing more than hunting.
Exactly. One, fishing, you get your fish up on land. You get if you got them right there, you have that smell of fresh meat, so you can attract rabid animals doing that. People don't expect most fishermen to have a firearm, so they seem like an easy target, but little do they know, especially in gun-loving states, that I'll be your huckleberry.
Yeah.
But moving on. The next one is know your propellant. Traditional black powder is more volatile than its modern day equivalent, and it's more difficult to find in stores. Instead, it's best to use black powder substitute like Priodex powder propellant. These newer form of powders burn cleaner and ignite faster, and they come in a pellet form as well. Pellets versus powder is personal preference. Each has its own advantage and disadvantages for use in the field. You can talk to an experienced rep at your local Gander Outdoor store to find the best products and equipment. However, it will probably take time to find what you really like. Yes, if you've ever cut open a shotgun shell, which is really fun to do, by the way, it wasn't the first time I did it. It wasn't what I really expected. I cut it open and it came out like what you would expect to see hamster feed as little itty bitty pellets. Versus I was expecting a powder, a very finely ground, almost like sand kind of material, but it was interesting to see it as a powder and how it would react when I took a match to it. Yes, I was that kid.
Yeah.
So knowing your powders, knowing your propellants and stuff like that, and keeping it dry. Let's not forget that muzzle loaders have that disadvantage over modern day ammunition, because if you get your powder wet when you're hunting or shooting,
You're screwed.
your day's done.
Right.
So know you're sitting before you go out and shoot with a muzzle loader. Be prepared. Is it going to be heavy humidity? Is it going to be raining? Do I need to put everything in a dry bag? Do I need to wear a raincoat, stuff it on me, stuff like that?
I use the pellets. That way I can keep in a cylinder with the sabot in there with a plug on it for each shot.
Yeah.
And
that's
everything. Pull it out, pull the sabot out, drop them down in everything. Put the sabot down in it and then put my cap on and I'm ready to go.
That actually leads us to the next topic. Prep your loads. Prep then load. Prepare the gun loading before you put anything in the muzzle. Always start by making sure the gun isn't already loaded. To do this, you should have your ramrod pre-marked showing the loaded and unloaded levels of the muzzle. Insert the rod into the muzzle. See that it goes all the way to the unloaded mark. If it stops short, there's something in the barrel that needs to be removed before you load the gun. Double loading is extremely dangerous, so never skip this step. Once you've checked your barrel, fire off one primer without the gun loaded. Make sure the barrel is pointed down to the ground when you do this. Firing the primer ensures that the barrel is clear and it clears any moisture of oil that may have settled into the breech plug. And we're actually going to cover that prep your load more when we cover the fails and show you what happens if you overload your rifles.
It's not a pretty sight.
No, it's not. And I am so happy I found that fail. I am so happy it goes perfectly with today.
He finds weird stuff, let me tell you.
I'm good at my
a lot of it
job.
out there.
I'm good at my job.
That's the nice thing about using this program. We can share the videos, the pictures, the files, what we're talking about and everything, so everybody can see what we are discussing.
Exactly. And if we have like mug shots or photographs, anything like that, we just pull it up real quick, let everybody see what we're doing, and now they're on the same page if they weren't before. And yes, Richie, screw Garfish, angry little bastard.
Oh, yeah. I hate those are fish with alligator. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We'd catch them in the river, pull them out, and stick their bill down in the sand and watch them flop until they die.
Actually, funny thing about that is here in Texas, they used to be catch and kill immediately.
Mm-hmm.
They were an aggressive species and they were a risk to the environment. But when we started getting the Asian carp in here, they were one of the only species that would eat Asian carp. So they changed that law real quick to be like, nope, catch and release. So I don't know about you, but I'm going to cut my line because I'm not sticking my hand in that mouth.
No. It's got bad teeth.
Very much so.
Ooh, Lordy. It's like I said, it's an alligator that swims with a fish body.
Yeah. Same with snakeheads.
I can think of the very first person that caught one and pulled that out and went, uh-oh.
No. No. Let it go.
Yeah.
The next one we go into is fully seat. So after you load the propellant into the muzzle, make sure that the bullet is fully seated before you go any further. Do this by pushing firmly on the ramrod, yet not too hard so you don't break up your pellets. There is another reason that practice makes perfect. Any air gap between the bullet and the propellant can act as blockage in the barrel, and this gap can ruin a gun, or worse, it can result in serious injury to the shooter. Even if the charge does go off properly, gaps can cause the bullet to waver, affecting accuracy, and that's something you can't afford if you only get the one shot. The next one they go into is water is your enemy, which we did already cover. Cover your barrel, keep the barrel pointed down so water doesn't go in. You don't want to typically with your ARs and pistols nowadays, you can over oil a gun all day long and you're not really going to see any problems except for like a bigger carbon buildup because now it's got something to adhere to. But with a muzzle loader, any water, any moisture is a bad day.
Yeah. Anything that gets water near the black powder, you're going to have a bad day.
Very much. Number 7 goes into unload at the end of the day. And this one I can fully agree with. We've talked about unloading your firearms in the past on the show being, your normal modern handguns with pre-made cartridges, whereas that's not so much as a priority, especially if you're carrying, you want to typically have one round in chamber. But a muzzleloader, if you forget to unload your gun and you go back the next day and now you reload it, so now you've got charge, pellet, that's going to be a bad explosion. I would love to watch what happens when they do that. Just charge round, boom, because that barrel is not rated for that. I can guarantee you that. And number 8 goes into use the right gear. So you need to have the appropriate tools, cleaning utilities, and proper loading equipment. So that way, 1, you don't overload, 2, you don't underload, 3, you're using the proper caliber. So it goes in. It's similar to like if you try to put a 9 through a 45 or a 45 through a 9. You're trying to put a larger load or a larger round through something not designed for it to utilize. So make sure you have the appropriate equipment for everyday usage. I'm sure Carl can attest to that.
Yeah, that's true. But every time you fire it and everything, you make sure you clean it very well.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that powder, when it builds up, it'll eat metal like crazy.
Now,
if I could add something,
you go right ahead.
Add something into the mix as well. I know it's a little bit broken on my end. I don't know if it's my signal or not. A lot of considerations that are out there, and some people don't even realize this, is the size of the shooter versus the size of the muzzle loader. How big the gun is. You're talking about it maybe in the failures portion that you're planning on covering. But let's say you're going out, so the Colorado got a bunch of snow over the past 24 to 48 hours. Let's say you decide to go out. I mean, I've been up in Michigan and shot -7 degree weather up there with snow, and it was a federal protective service events that we were doing up there. But when you're talking about the length of a firearm, and you could see me trying to stand here and holding a Barrett 82A1 up, and probably Cameron could do it much better than I because he's much bigger young man than I am. But with the muzzle loader, if you want to, let's say it's snowing or whatever, you got the muzzle end facing down. I've never reached my full height potential. I'm only 5'8", but if I'm carrying it and I'm walking along and the snow is gathering up inside the muzzling end, the business end of the gun, then you could potentially look at ice buildup, snow buildup that's in it. But the other thing is that some people, when they shoot different guns, even the AR-10s and such, if they are not structured. Or on behalf of Carl, I did a case over in Las Vegas, Nevada, Henderson, Nevada area, where a woman was way too big for the crossbow that she was shooting, and she ended up losing her thumb while she was shooting it. And if you have the wrong size of weapon, here's your comfort level again, wrong size of weapon, then you in order to bring your enemy to their knees, you need to be able to stand. Okay, yeah. And so if you're leaning over, look like that what was it, the dunking bird or whatever, going into the water all the time. So yeah. You're trying to shoot, and you already got that bullet drop before it gets out the end of the muzzle. So in consideration for some of those out there, I mean, one of the I won't say it's a training tape, but it's a good movie to watch if you want to talk about muzzle loading use, is Patriot with Mel Gibson.
Exactly.
That's a wonderful movie to watch. Some of the gunmanship that goes on, even though it is a movie. But yes. Just to get a better understanding and idea of the use of muzzle loaders, and the making of little rounded balls from little military figurines. So
yeah,
it's always good. But think about the length of your weapon as well. Think your rifle.
And we've talked about that multiple times here on the show. Find a gun you're comfortable with, 1, for your personal usage, and 2, for home defense. I would not recommend using muzzleloader for home defense.
No. Last resort, and you make that shot count.
Yeah, let me blow a golf ball size hole for your buddy. Mount the knife to the barrel and then charge you.
Well, we do like Civil War. You make that shot count, and if you don't, you just start them beating with a rifle.
Yep, which those guns were actually designed to do that.
And they're big barreled.
Yeah.
Most of your edge weapon.
You're looking at a muzzleloader 5 foot, 6 foot long. So that's like carrying somebody my height around.
Yeah.
Good luck. That's the one reason I haven't gotten a muzzleloader yet. Now, when I get into hunting, I do intend on getting one to enjoy that season. But as far as what I have right now, it's every gun has a purpose.
Except for the charging bear.
No, I do have a gun for that too. It's called 50 Beowulf.
A 500?
No, 50 Beowulf.
I got it. Yeah, absolutely.
That'll put a bear down real quick, especially the hollow point.
Yeah, that'd put my arm back over my back too. Finally.
Just need to reset Carl's shoulder real quick.
Yeah, pick it up off the ground.
Yeah, it's a very light gun, but it is probably one of my personal. It is the largest caliber you can get on an AR platform.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's unfortunately there. I'm surprised it is such a hard caliber to find right now at a respectable price. I mean, I understand prices are going to jump from everything, but apparently a lot of people have a 50 Beowulf. I wasn't expecting that. No, honestly, I knew 5.56, 9, 40, 45, 22, 30-06, 308. I knew the main calibers were going to be really, really difficult to find during this. But trying to find, I can find 50 BMG all day long because that's already a naturally expensive round. Plus, you're looking at a $13,000 gun. So your regular average Joe is not going to have a 50 BMG. Don't get me wrong. I showed one last week that I really, really want. I just can't afford it. So, if I could get my hands on a 50 BMG, then I can get ammo. But everything else right now, you can't find in stock. Well, you can find 5.56 in green tip, but that's because not a lot of people know what green tip is. Green tips. Now, before we go into our news articles for the day, I do want to go ahead and knock out our gun fails. Now, I did tell you that this is what happens when you overload your firearm. So be prepared. Thankfully, nobody got injured in this video, but this is a 50 caliber muzzleloader rifle. So keep that in mind. Should be.
Oh my Lord.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch, just blew the backside right out.
And you notice where it blew it from at the very beginning, right at the very back of the barrel, and ripped it.
Banana split right there. So you need to be, that's why we always try and cover do's and don'ts and safety for the educational purposes. And of course, there's always stupid people out there that help give us an example, because I'm not going to do that to my guns.
No, I'd say he overloaded that one quite a bit.
Oh yes, with how much, I mean, that barrel split off about a foot each direction.
Yeah.
So
he's lucky his fingers didn't split off in every direction.
He's lucky he still has his face.
Well, they didn't show him back there, but you seen him jump back holding, so you know he got hurt somewhere.
Oh yeah, he at least got burned.
Oh yeah,
he at least got burned.
Right.
But to start us off with our first article, this makes me proud to be an American. Oh, this makes me so proud to be an American right now. Americans are spending their stimulus checks on guns.
Mm-hmm.
Americans are currently looking forward to another round of stimulus checks, and gun shops are looking forward to another round of stimulus stockpiling. As the House takes its final vote Wednesday on the $1.9 trillion stimulus. So this article comes to us on Monday. Americans are looking forward to spending their $1,400 checks at the gun store. The stimulus check equals gun money, said Brandon Wexler, owner of Wex Gunworks in Delray Beach, Florida. I do anticipate that when people get a stimulus check, they will spend it on firearms, accessories, high-capacity magazines, and ammunition if they can get it. Retailers have learned from the previous 2 rounds of stimulus payments that they can provide a temporary windfall for gun stores. Al Tawil, owner of Towers Armory, a gun store and range in Oregon, Ohio, said that his weekly sales jumped about 20% right after mid-April, when many Americans received the first $1,200 stimulus payments from the federal government. He has every reason to believe that it'll happen again. My stimulus check comes in calibers.
You know, back in 2012, I lived up in New York and was helping to teach at the Niagara Gun Range up that way. And when the New York SAFE Act, I call it the New York Not So Safe Act, kicked in from the Como regime up that way, there was a lot of gun sales. It was incredible, the amount of gun sales and ammunition sales that were going on, because everyone needed to buy up the stuff before they yanked and pulled it. I call it the habeas grab-a-hold-us on gun control.
I mean, look at any time Democrats put out a gun bill or anything that requires confiscation, banning of firearms, stuff like that. I know when they were talking about banning the AR pistols, what was it, 6 months ago?
Yeah.
I went and acquired 2 new airsoft guns that week. So every time look at Beto O'Rourke in Texas when he was talking about grabbing guns. They managed to sell enough firearms to arm the army twice. So, gun sales from 2019 were at 3.5 million, if I remember right. The end of 2020, they were at 5.1 million. So you had almost a 2 million spike in gun sales. So if anything, Democrats are really good at selling firearms.
Oh, absolutely.
A new bill, however, this is another very promising bill. I've covered it on 1700 somewhere. I want to say about a year ago, where Florida was requiring 2 armored guards at all times on the premises at schools. This new bill would create statewide guidelines for gun safety education programs in school districts. So in Topeka, Kansas, Kansas lawmakers are moving quickly to try and get new gun safety bills passed. The new proposal aims to teach students about gun safety. It will require the Kansas State Board of Education to create a curriculum guideline for gun safety education programs. Local school boards would have the option to teach it in their district. It could start as early as kindergarten, and it would be based off the NRA's Eddie Eagle Gun Safe program. Older students could be offered the training or the Kansas Department of Wildlife Parks and Tourism Hunter Education program as well. Some people don't like that this proposal specifically can use instruction from a private organization like the NRA. They also want the proposal to be debated in greater length, but supporters said this needs to be passed to prevent accidents from happening. And before I continue on, we have covered accidents happening in home several times here, where the mother had the gun to the purse, the children got a hold of it and killed the mom. I covered a personal story from my buddy where his sister's Glock was in her purse, and her eyeliner got into the trigger guard and shot a hole through her passenger side door. So having these programs, gun laws take guns from law-abiding citizens. Criminals aren't going to listen to you for anything. They already don't listen to you in the first place. So what makes you think they're going to turn their guns in? And Feinstein also said, once the average criminal realizes the American citizen is unarmed, they will lay their guns down.
Yep.
Bull crap. That just puts a target on everybody.
Yeah.
So having this education, this is why we created the ranch. We want to educate people so when they get in situations, they know how to handle them. So having this bill passed is beautiful to us here at the ranch. We love seeing stuff like this because this means other people have the same mentality we do and are wanting to push having safety and security over just security with no freedom. So, but continuing on, doing something that would help further our Kansas community across the state, no matter what your constituency is, with training on how to properly engage a firearm as a child. Wichita Representative Patrick Penn states, very simply, the concept is to stop, don't touch, run away, tell an adult. That's pretty much the standard, so that so if people can get behind it, it would be okay. Penn said that it still leaves this up to local officials to decide if they want to have the training in place. It's not a mandate. Penn said, we're not directing the schools to do anything. And the bill is now heading to the House floor for a full vote. I can somewhat get behind the stop, don't touch, run away. I can say stop, don't touch, find your parent, but they also need to be educated on the handling of firearms. The earlier you can start a child on how to safely operate and behave around these firearms, the more beneficial it will be in the long run. So when they do see your guns loose at home, they know how to safely, okay, it needs to go back into the safe, or I need to tell mom, I need to tell dad. So that way don't make it so much about being scared of the gun, be knowledgeable about the gun.
They used to years ago. I mean, back in Carl and my day, I'm sure they used to bring guns to schools. They used to teach the gun handling. You would absolutely handle the gun and stuff. I teach sportsman's education in New York and in North Carolina as well, and they do it. The big thing, the problem is that for the people who don't like guns, don't want guns in their home, don't believe that you should show the children the guns, the problem's going to be, and I teach this in concealed carry classes, if my son or daughter goes over to little Johnny or Sally's house down the road, not just using those names, and goes down, and let's say little Johnny or Sally down there wants to show him a gun. If my child hasn't got the understanding of gun safety, and the handling and the stop, don't touch, tell an adult type thing, then what's going to happen is that they may go over there and little Johnny and Sally may not have had that education. And they hand me the gun, I pick up the gun, but the gun's loaded, and then it happens. I've worked these types of cases as a police detective for years.
And
so go ahead.
It's funny you say that because we've covered that as well. Is the majority of these gun accidents that happen with children, it's typically that scenario. is little Johnny wants to show little Sally his dad's gun, pulls it out, and it accidentally goes off, or he's trying to be big and bad, points it at little Sally, and kills little Sally because of improper
Right.
education.
They don't have any knowledge of it. It's not taught like Dan was saying. Me and him in our age group back there, we were learned real quick, right? Especially from dad or grandpa,
Yep.
right? You touch that gun, you're not going to sit down for a while. You know? And they taught us right. That gun there is used to go out and hunt that squirrel, hunt that rabbit, hunt that deer and everything. Or if we take it out to sight it in, you're out there until you're of an age and we can trust you, you know, and that's what was instilled in our heads.
And that's one thing we
growing
need to bring back, talking about you not being able to sit down. Bring back physical punishment for your children. My dad used to tan my hide, and it taught me respect for others very well and respect for what we're doing. So if your child does get a hold of that firearm, you need to show them that there's going to be consequences for improper handling it. And going back to, you were talking about bringing guns to school. There was an article from the 1960s or 1980s, if I remember right, where a threat was put out that there was going to be an active school shooter. And teachers and students alike sat around the school armed to the teeth, and nothing happened.
Uh-huh.
I wonder why. It's almost like guns are really a good deterrent.
Yeah.
That's baffling. It's like if the American people can actually fight back, the criminal is a little afraid.
Well, it's like back in our day and everything in small towns where I went to high school and everything. Man, you'd pull up in the parking lot. There was pickup after pickup after pickup that had a 12-gauge shotgun, a 30-30, or a 22, or a 410, or a 30-06 hanging in a gun rack in the back of the window. It would stay in there. The truck would be unlocked and everything, but nothing like that ever happened.
Yeah,
Little easy rider's rifle rack.
Exactly. Exactly.
Can't do that nowadays.
No, that's back in the day when something happened. It was usually a fist fight. It wasn't a gunfight.
Yeah. Nowadays, people get in a fight, you got to watch your back the rest of your life because now they want to come and shoot you.
Right.
I miss the days where you could do something like that. Hey, we're going to have a fist fight. Loser buys the beer. You know, you had your beef. I had my beef. We squashed it real quick. Like
you got
grown
in a fight,
men.
and the next day you were best buddies again.
Exactly. You know, throw hands, deal with your business, and go on about it.
Of course, these shooters, you know, the ones that you're talking about right now, I call them thuglians instead of criminals, but
That's a good name.
They're
thuglians,
wannabe gangsters.
the side shooters, but you know, they're the ones that, you know, of course they went through the background checks, right?
Oh yeah.
Background to see what was behind him, make sure there wasn't a cop back there to make sure I couldn't buy this.
Al Capone is rolling in his grave over these so-called gangsters.
Oh yeah, but they're going to try to take our guns away, but yet they're never going to take them away from the thugs and so-called gangs.
Look at no gun zones. If I remember right, the last article I read, 98% of gun violence happens in no gun zones.
Yeah.
Now that may have changed. It's been about a year since I actually covered that article, but the majority of crimes are happening in areas where there are not supposed to be any firearms. It's because it's too easy. You tell them that this zone doesn't have anybody armed off the bat. So now the criminals going in there know that, hey, I can come in here, do what I need to do, and get out, and it's not going to be a problem. Whereas we've also covered the idiot that tried to rob a jewelry store, pulled the pantyhose down over his head, and instead of walking into the jewelry store to rob it, he ran into the gun store where he was put down by 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like guns really work. Can't stress that enough. But unfortunately, with that, we have to talk about the dark side. A House is clearing 2 gun safety bills, but thankfully the Senate may roadblock it. The House sent 2 bills to the Senate on Thursday that would implement a universal background checks and close the loophole linked to the 2015 mass shooting in Charleston, South Carolina. Gun violence is devastating our communities. Every day, 30 people are killed by someone using a gun, and that number jumps to a factor of 100 if you factor in accidents and suicides involving gun. Representative Mike Thompson from California, the sponsor of the bipartisan background checks of the 2021 Act, said in a statement. Now, that's one thing I've noticed a lot with media. Thankfully, I take these with a grain of salt. These are Democratic covered stories. A lot of the times when you see any type of statistics about a gun crime, a gun incident, they include everything. They include suicides. They include the accidents like when little Johnny pulled out dad's gun with little Sally. They don't specifically point out the statistics for active shooters. And if you take everything else out, if you take out suicides alone, the statistics drop by 10 times.
Absolutely.
It's a huge difference compared to what they want to push, because they love fear mongering. The more afraid you are, the more willing you are to give up your rights and freedoms. But Thompson's bill passed 227 to 203, with one Democrat voting against it and 8 Republicans voting for it. The legislation would expand background checks on all firearms sale, closing the so-called gun show loophole and regulating online private sales. Background checks work, and expanding them only make more people safe from gun violence, Thompson said. A second measure, the Enhanced Background Checks Act of 2021, passed 219 to 210, two Republicans for and 2 Democrats against. This bill would nullify the Charleston loophole in federal law that allows for the sale of firearms to proceed if a background check has not been completed after 3 business days. Instead, the new proposal would increase the waiting period from 3 days to 10 days. We're not going to get into the rest of that. It's just talking about the
Yeah, I've seen that article.
their quotes and, oh, it's good for the communities. No, it's not. It's not. Let me tell you why it's not. Because no criminal is going to listen to any kind of background check. Do you really think these criminals are going to academy to pick up their gun?
No. But see, that one bill you're talking about waiting for the 10 days, they even want to pass that on the internet sales, your gun shows, and everything.
I have bought one gun from the internet. And you know what I have to do or had to do? I had to have it
sent to a firearms dealer.
It goes to a firearms dealer. He has to do a processing fee to transfer it from that dealership to him. And then I still get a background check.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no loophole there. I don't know what they're trying to say, that there's a loop. You can't, the only guns you can buy and have shipped to your house that I know of are the Diablo 12 gauge break open black powder shotgun and any air rifle, because air rifles aren't a firearm technically to the government.
Right.
So
this HR 8 bill that you're talking about, real quick, was fashioned very similar after the California laws as well as the New York laws. And I do remember up in New York, if I wanted to sell you my gun to you, Cameron, then what we would have to do is go to a FFL dealer. I would take it from the seller into my inventory, then turn around and sell it to you in your inventory. We had to do the next background check on it. And, even though the transaction was very quick, but like for handguns, if it was a handgun, you had to have either a firearms license or a concealed carry permit ever before you could own that handgun. If you transferred and moved up to New York, you had to send it to an FFL dealer, wait, for 6 months or better to get your permit, and then you could go back to that FFL dealer and pick up your gun to do it legally.
Yeah, the fact that California and New York can push so many bills because the amount of representatives their states have is outrageous. The fact that the 2 most liberal states can basically decide the fate of firearms is absolutely,
for the entire country.
Yeah, it's just absolute cancer. And I would like to see more states follow Missouri and go and say, no, any laws you pass banning this, past, present, and future, are nullified.
Null and void. Feds can't come in and do anything on their laws or anything in the state of Missouri.
Because if we go back again, Marbury v. Madison, all laws repugnant to the United States Constitution are null and void, which every gun law ever passed, being any suppressor law, bump stock bans, the automatic firearm ban, any of those are repugnant to the United States. It's a ban of your freedoms and liberties. The Second Amendment was created not for hunting. The founding fathers didn't just go out on a deer trip, come back and say, these are really cool, everybody should have them. They were designed to protect the people against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And the only reason they are trying to do something to ban everything right now, being body armor included, is because the government's about to do something that the United States people would want to shoot them for.
Did you all see that movie, Amerigeddon? Not Armageddon, but Amerigeddon.
No, I don't think I have.
If you have, Marshall Teague is a friend of mine, played in that. He also played Jimmy opposite Patrick Swayze in the Roadhouse movie many years ago. But it's talk about an EMP knocking out, pretty much all of the world, and then China, Russia, and America coming together, and then coming in, going into your homes, taking your farm, taking your weapons and such as that, as part of their regime change, if you will. Amerigeddon, a good movie.
Amerigeddon.
Honestly, that's probably going to be a documentary. That's, in all honesty, that's probably going to be a documentary. Because look at the reason why.
Don't forget Red Dawn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Look at the reason why China doesn't invade America, because they said that behind every blade of grass there is a gun. Americans love guns, and I don't know how
They don't know how many guns are actually in the homes all across the United States, especially in the Midwest.
Exactly, because not a lot of states still require a registration of all firearms.
Yeah.
Texas comes in at number 18th for the most firearms in the country, and we don't have to register our guns. So you can imagine that with registering, if we had to register, we'd probably take number one real quick. Alaska comes in at number one, and their population is minimal.
Right. So
when you look at this bill, this HR 8 bill, I call it the habeas corpus bill from the gun controllers. When you look at this, it's from the first session of the 117th Congress. They've tried it before. They tried it in the 116th session of it as well. But it's just a few documents, and it's not much. But this will set up the rest of what they want to do. Registration equals confiscation. Those types of things.
Look at the red flag laws.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Red flag laws are just a giant shit show. How many times have I covered stories of somebody getting killed because of red flag laws?
Yeah. Yeah.
More people is more hazardous than beneficial to anybody. It's just a reason to take law-abiding armed citizens out of the equation. The left loves having this transfer of manhood where everybody's becoming baby shit soft. And guns are scary. Guns are bad. They love having this transfer, and that's why they're pushing this, is because they've seen a change of real red, white, blue bleeding Americans to these people that are willing to burn the American flag in their own country.
You had that guest from Wales, and I didn't get to hear that. I'll go back and try to listen to it at some point in time. But you had the guest from Wales on there. Back in 1999, I went over to go teach knife fighting in Scotland back then, and I had to get special permission to go from the home office there to go teach knife fighting, and I had to use their knives. They wouldn't let me bring my own knives, and he said, and I still have the letter from the home office that says, "We do not condone the illicit carriage of a knife for the purposes of self-defense."
So they literally told you, we don't want our
exactly
British,
and that's why you have knife drop boxes in the UK right now.
They were actually looking at doing gun drop boxes in America, and I can tell you right now, that'd be like a giant video game for every gun-loving American. Because all I'm going to do is back my truck up with a winch,
load the box up and go.
And go home.
Hook the Hummer up. Yeah.
Thank everybody.
Thanks, guys. I just doubled my collection. That is the dumbest idea I have ever. You really think criminals aren't thinking the same damn thing? Oh, free
gun
guns.
buybacks are just as stupid.
You never,
buybacks are just as
you
stupid.
never owned my gun. If I did a criminal background check on the United States government, you would fail. You have no rights to try and buy back my guns that you never owned.
Right. But like Richie says, knives have killed more people than guns ever have.
Yes. And the reason you will see me very often on this show get very adamant about this. I can't tell you how much I love our Bill of Rights and our Second Amendment. Like these are very huge topics to me. So doing this show, you're going to see me get a little heated, to say the least. I try and avoid the politics, and I try and avoid bashing names and stuff like that. I really do. But there are some dumb MFers out there. Oh, God.
We got a new listener.
Yeah.
Thanks for
And
joining.
they're accurate as hell on that. They will get them from Mexico if you ban guns in America. And yes, in America you can own a tank. You have, and technically, if it's a non-functioning, if I remember right, tank.
Yeah.
You can actually buy that without a license. You can also own cannons just willy-nilly. And there's 2 sitting on the way to Galveston that I want to go pick up if I move up to Missouri. Yeah.
Well, look at the guy that built that tank out of that bulldozer that destroyed his town.
And look how many Americans they cost jobs, shutting down the wall, shutting down the economy. How many of those were welders? How many people were heavy equipment operators? How many people can recreate that scenario? Because if you actually look into it, he didn't attack anybody's personal property. He didn't destroy anything that was privately owned. He only destroyed the buildings that were government and federally owned. He went after the people that screwed him. So you, as the government, if you screw the people, the real people, Antifa and Black Lives Matter are not Americans, in my opinion.
No.
They go after private businesses, things people built up them damn selves and ruin lives, whereas the real American people know who the problem is and know who they need to go after and have a very strong drive and are very knowledgeable with their trades because, they didn't go to college, they're retarded. No, people in trades are very dangerous. So, I like this guy.
Uh-huh.
I like this guy. Oh, Lord. We have one more bill.
And he's on Twitch. So
Yeah.
how do you find us on Twitch?
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well. How did
I
you
am
find
too.
our Twitch?
Type in the chat room and let us know. Because we get some good listeners in the Twitch comments.
Yes, we do. Now, Colorado is leaning very liberal, and we know why, because they legalized pot and everybody from California started moving there. And honestly, if you move from California to any other state, you bring the same ideologies to that state, seeing how your state went. So watching California turn into a giant shithole, and you want to vote the same way and bring that same propaganda and political crap, you need to get your teeth kicked in. See, it's the American flag. Yeah,
There
let's
it is.
go.
You know what we was telling you, Dan, about earlier?
Yeah.
On Twitch, they saw the American flag. Y'all was in the podcast and I saw the American flag. I knew we was in a good company. Thank you very much. That was what we was trying to put out. On Twitch, anytime anybody runs across an American flag, they pop up in that show.
Let's go.
Super.
Love it.
That's the third one that I know of
Yeah.
that
But-
said that about that.
If you move from California and you have lived through that crap and you vote the same way over and over and over again, you're a part of the problem. But we're going to get into Colorado is, they're having that problem now. And in fact, Jade from VRS is actually looking to move down to Texas because she's seeing how that's going. But now they're looking at passing a new law that would require gun owners to lock up their weapons while at home. in Denver, Colorado, gun owners could soon be required to securely lock up their firearms if this new bill becomes law. As State Representative Monica Duran sees it, gun locks just make sense. This is about accident prevention. This is about saving lives. She and Representative Kyle Melissa are introducing a new bill. If passed, would require those owners to lock up their guns. Obviously, storing it in a safe would count as safe storage. A trigger lock or cable lock counts as safe storage as well. It's an issue with both strong support for it and vocal opposition against it. And they're going to talk about their own opinions and everything like that. And I really don't care about your opinion. We're going to show you ours. And we have talked about this many times here on the ranch. If you have small children, I don't agree with requiring you to lock your firearms up at all. But if you have children, they need to be educated on those firearms. Now, if you have children that are at risk for depression and stuff like that, I can understand locking your firearms up as well. But education is going to be more beneficial, because if somebody does break into your home and you don't have the ranch's training yet, when we actually get the ranch up and running, we're going to put you in scenarios like that where your gun is easily accessible versus where it's locked up. How do you handle? Because a lot of people, if you have no formal training, when you get into a real scenario, you panic. And that's why I try and push people for the biometric locks on their firearms, because instead of trying to punch in a pen pad real quick or find a key, you tap your fingers, you open it up. That's why I would rather support that if you're wanting to lock up your guns before going for a gun safe. I have a gun safe because I have many firearms and I want to keep them safe when I'm at work. I don't have small children, so typically I have some kind of airsoft or Nerf or water gun near me at all times. But you do need to have your home operate safely, and being put in a situation where you're panicking and you can't unlock your safe quickly enough, that gives the intruder more time and more ground covered, and you have less time to react. So, if you can get that training, then yes, I can support getting those pen pads, because now you know how you're going to handle that situation. Because again, the ranch is not about hunting. The ranch is about the Second Amendment rights,
right,
and your responsibilities and duties as an American citizen.
If I could add something as well, you need to
go ahead.
Shop around a little bit on who's teaching you. Not everyone that says they're an instructor will teach you what's necessary for the real world. They'll teach you, shooting of stationary targets. Now, you're not going to go out and find a lot of volunteers that says, "Oh, well, shoot me. Yeah, you can do that. Shoot me." No, but you need to find as much realism and training as you can. There needs to be repeated. We talked about practice early with a muzzle loader. You need to practice as often as you can. You need to put a lot of rounds down range. It needs to be in a variety of different scenarios. Join some type of shooting club or whatever that does, IDPA or something along that line, to try to get some different basis of it. But you got a lot of tactical instructors out there that can teach you. Not everyone is military. Is a good instructor. Not everyone in law enforcement is a good instructor, or security, or whatever. Not every firearms instructor that's out there is going to teach you what you need to do to be able to combat the threat. You have to survive that threat. And in order to do that, the only way you're going to do it is do a lot of damn practicing.
Exactly. And one thing I enjoy watching some of the firearm training videos out there. And one thing I've noticed is, one, they're always, every single video you watch, they're always on stationary targets, usually steel or paper. But two, it seems like they're pushing more of a competition type shooting versus a realism style, what ifs, what can happen, stuff like that. It's more be quick, do this, get your rounds down range, hit, and then move on, get your points, get your rating and stuff like that. Whereas in a real life scenario, you're not looking to just get rounds down range. You want to be accurate. You want to be shooting what you're shooting. It seems too much to me like they're pushing for that competition style versus a home intruder style. And that's one of the benefits of the ranch. If you haven't watched what the ranch is actually about, we're looking at setting up scenarios where you have moving targets, whether it be for hunting, or we're going to look into either simunition or paintball rounds to allow people to combat a real home intruder. How are they going to handle that scenario? How are they going to prepare for somebody breaking into their house? So it's not just, now you can come out, shoot all you want. Of course, it's going to have the regular range, but we are going to put you in different scenarios that can educate you on how you need to handle your firearms and how quickly you can get to it, as well
Right.
as be able to combat an actual aggressor versus combating cardboard. So
What else you got lined up, Cameron?
I was just reading that comment real quick. In Switzerland, where guns are like mandatory, crime is less because you don't want to mess with anyone because you don't know who has a gun. You're actually correct on that. When we had our UK viewer last week, he was talking about how Switzerland does require everybody to have a firearm, but how easy it is to lose your rights to have a firearm. So, yeah, we can cover that a little bit. To an extent, yes. Typically, when a criminal hears a firearm, that shotgun racking is a very distinct sound. Everybody knows what a shotgun racking sounds like. And in fact, criminals that were interviewed in 2015, 2016, if I remember right, when interviewed, said one of the most terrifying sounds they can hear is a shotgun racking, and that's usually a deterrent enough for them to stop. The second is, I'm a woman with a gun and I know how to use it. That is not a joke. That's actually what they said, and I thought that was hilarious. Shotguns are extremely beneficial because, as he said, you can't miss. Well, you can miss, and bird shot's not as effective as buckshot.
Close enough, you can cut one in half too.
Yeah. The problem you have with a lot of shotguns out there that people are going to buy is they're too long. If you sweep your house and you come around that corner where that criminal is, he has the chance to get that hand on that barrel and control where you point that firearm. And if he's got a pistol or a knife, he can move over and come and do the damage he needs to do. That's why I say there is no such thing as an all-purpose firearm. So if you have a house with a lot of corners, a lot of twists and turns, a shotgun noise is beneficial. But as far as my home intruder defense goes, I like to keep it a little more compact. But we the purpose, you have your opinion and you're entitled to your opinion, but we do try and educate you on the ups and downs of utilizing that specific gun in that scenario. And in fact, our first episode we had a viewer come in from, I want to say California or New York, one of those extremely liberal states on gun control. And he was saying he wanted to get a shotgun to utilize, and we showed him different pricing. We showed him different benefits of it. But his big problem was he wanted to use rock salt. No, rock salt is not a good home deterrent.
Yeah.
It hurts. Now you've pissed that guy off. And yes, that's actually what I was leading up to. You can get short shotguns. I have two. I have one that requires a tax stamp, which is about a 5-month waiting period to acquire. And then I have the one that you can just buy from Academy. So it is a shorter shotgun. The problem with it is, in order to actually use it, you really have to pull that slide forward, because if it's back even a half an inch, it's not wanting to fire off. It's not seating the round effectively. So it's a cool gun. I like it. It's fun to shoot. But as far as having to really pull that pump forward, it's a downside because it takes away the ability for me to use another hand. If for my home defense, if I can keep one hand open, which is why I do like having the actual arm brace. If I can keep one hand open, if he tries to grab, I can push him off and still come at it. So
another consideration on shotguns as well. I mean, it's really great. You don't want to do as some president said, fire a couple of rounds buy a shotgun, fire a couple of rounds to scare somebody off. Because now you're not only in some jurisdictions you can be arrested for it, but then the other part of it is now you're down 2 rounds of ammunition that you might need. But the other consideration is the ballistics of the weapon that you've got, the firearms for home defense or whatever. And, you got to play this scenario just like you do fire drills and stuff. You got to play scenario. Not that I want you to shoot your house up or anything, but think about the ballistics. If you have other people living in your home, and if it's something that's going to be penetratable, like, maybe an AR-10 or, AR-15 or something along that lines, or, a Beowulf or something, then you may not want to go. Sorry, you may not want to go with a higher caliber weapon. Even buckshot, you need to make considerations. But who's in that other room down the hallway to the right? If the Thugland is in your home at 2 o'clock in the morning and you fire that round, and let's say you missed or even caught part of them, or her, doesn't matter if it's a male or female. If what's going to be behind it? What's going to be the stopping point behind it? What's going to be the terminal velocity of that particular ammunition that you're using at that time? Will it maybe strike someone else in your house? Maybe you live right next door where it's they used to call them back in my days the shotgun houses that they were put up, because if you shot it with a shotgun, it would go all the way through the house. So you have to take all of that in consideration when you're thinking about a shotgun also.
And that's right. The benefit of the ranch is we can train you for scenarios in your home, but you still have to consider the other people. I have a roommate. I know where he sleeps most of the time. So you need to run drills on yourself. Now, sober, don't do these with alcohol, but run drills on yourself where somebody has broken into your home. How are you going to sweep your home? And I don't mean with a broom. I mean, how are you going to clear your home safely, effectively, accurately, and in a timely manner, so that way you can prepare for what may or may not happen. So if you, like my roommate likes to sleep on the couch a lot. I don't know why. He's got his own damn bed, but I know that the odds of him being in a line of fire are slimmer because of how my stairs are lined up. When I go to the left, coming down my stairs where the odds of the intruder coming from are greater, I don't have a chance of hitting him. Now, whereas if he sleeps in his room, I still have to take that into consideration because he doesn't always sleep on the couch. His room is right across from my hallway. So if I do take double up buck, slug, 5.56, 308, 338, 50 Beowulf, 6.5 Creedmoor, 45 Full Metal Jacket, 9 Full Metal Jacket. If I take any of the bigger rounds, my odds of hitting him have jumped substantially because, one, his room is where it's at, and two, I'm using that kind of a caliber to put somebody down. And that's why I like having the one round, because I know I am accurate with it. I have most of my home invasion guns sighted for the longest distance in my home, not going to the range, putting them out to 50 yards and calling it good. They're sighted for me to put my personal favorite home defense has a laser attachment on it, so I just click that on real quick, and I know that round's going right where that dot's at. So if I see something move, I'm going to get 2 to the chest and 1 to the head real quick.
Tap 3 times.
Exactly. Another thing you really have to consider is dead men tell no tales.
True.
That is very important for you to understand, because I have covered a story about the criminal that broke into a house through a skylight, fell on the kitchen knives, sued the woman for damages, and won. So if you do have a criminal that breaks into your home and they get wounded, you are at risk of being sued. Now, also with that, you've got to know your state laws, and that's another thing we really like to cover here. I know I shouldn't shoot somebody through my front door. I have that capability. However, every cop you talk to will say, tear your shirt a little bit, drag them halfway into the door, and call it good.
Yep. But we don't condone that.
No, we don't. It's a bad idea.
Disclaimer real quick.
Little disclaimer.
Yeah, don't mess with evidence. But that's why it's very important for you to be educated on your state laws, because you need to know if there's a trespasser, what actions can you take outside the house, inside the house. Because again, I don't think I've covered this. If your garage is detached from your house, technically you can't defend it until they start destroying or stealing. So just because they got into your garage doesn't mean you're able to shoot them.
Garage. Yeah.
If your house, or if your garage is attached to your house, now that it's an egress point into your home, now you can shoot them. Now you can defend your property, because it's technically a part of the living area, not just a random part of the house, part on the property. So it's very, very important for you to understand all your state laws. And I know it sucks. It really does. That's why we tell you, when we do the topics on your state laws, we do kind of a bastardized quick version. If you want us to go in depth on your state laws, you need to let us know. That way we can go and find the actual laws, get the evidence, get the research, get the lawsuits and stuff like that, so we can cover it in depth with our 2 hours, versus where we cover it for an hour and then continue on with talking about the ranch, plans for the ranch, anything like that. So
Well, let's see. We got about a half hour left in the show. Why don't we let Dan talk a little bit about his radio show he does and things he's done? Because if I read right, weren't you on one of the shooting channels?
Yeah, I used to be the executive vice president of Shooting Channel back in 2012. I actually came on the show as a guest of the show. Christian Swan and Michelle Rahal, part of the Rahal Racing family group, ran the Shooting Channel back in. I came on, and then they became a regular on it, and then they wanted me to help co-host the show, and so that's how I got involved in it. It was really great. And then we started doing more. We had a staff of writers, about 6 or 7 writers that were associated to it. I would pump out 3 to 5 articles a week, whether it was gun related, archery related, Second Amendment related, and such as that. I did one I was mentioning earlier. It was called it's on a daily caller at 911. I just shot someone. There was another one called Stealing Second, a political death wish for our Second Amendment rights. And so there was a lot of them. There's a lot of them that had to do with urban defenders and, let's see, protecting our homeland, tactically speaking, the hand-to-hand survivalist, know your weapons and know yourself. There was a lot of articles with that. We had some other great writers, Mia Hanstein, one of them, and she has her own blog series, and she's a hunter out there. So we did a lot with that, and it ran for a good portion of time, and I learned a lot more about doing radio. Michelle Rahal used to be on ESPN doing sports commentary for racing events, Indy events, Formula One, that type of stuff. So I got involved in that. I went over to the Race Talk radio show, and it was really great because it reached out to a lot of the truckers and everyone out there listening to race car type of things. And we had the Put It on Target radio show. I had the Tap 3 Times radio show. TAP3X is what I call it, but Tap 3 Times, and that's why I said that earlier. The old Mogadishu drill type of thing. But so I did a lot with that. I've been a shooter since about 1966. I've been shooting archery since about 1970. I had the wonderful opportunity to be able to learn how to teach and then teach other people over the years. I used both of that, and I'm an expert witness in use of force, expert witness in crossbow injury or archery injury cases or gun-related cases. If you get somebody says, well, my gun malfunctioned, or a lot of people use the term accidental discharge when it's plain to see it's negligent discharge. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things that go in relation to that. But I do the Chase the Wolf radio show now, And if you ever read anything by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman on sheeps, wolves, and sheepdogs, that's kind of where I got the idea of being a law enforcement officer for years, and in the military as well, U.S. Army, that I proudly served, and glad I did for all of those years. But I later became a gunsmith. I became an armorer in the military, armor and law enforcement, do firearms appraisals, and all of that. And so all of those opportunities that were afforded to me over the years has been of great benefit. It's a wonderful journey that I've been on. And, I learned a lot. I still consider myself a student. I'll go to somebody else's location to just go to learn how to shoot or shoot
Right.
more. But I've hosted, Willis Lee and Tom King from the NRA, the board of directors from NRA on shooting events. I've had a number of people on different shows that I've done, celebrities, different shooters, bow shooters, everything along that line. That it's been a wonderful journey, and I learn each and every time I go on something. I'm very honored that you all asked me this evening to attend and be alongside you, because there's not enough time left in me that I can't try to at least share. They talk about knowledge, skills, and abilities. If you, Carl, and Cameron and myself fail to share that with other people, then it's gone. It's gone
Right.
forever. And it's been a wonderful and a blessing of a time. But Chase the Wolf Radio Show, Blog Talk Radio, I do Wolf Bits. I've got like 3 books that I'm putting together, Protecting the Tribe, Chase the Wolf, and Wolf Bits is another one. I do lecture series with the Protecting the Tribe, different survival, off-grid living types of things that goes along with that.
So what I heard is the next gun I have built, I need to call you. And
1-800-CALL-DAN.
1-800-CALL-DAN.
And Richie actually wants to have you on one of their shows at some point in time. So we
cool.
can get you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
on
get you in
the
touch with
WO radio show we do on Tuesday nights on WO Entertainment's Facebook page and stuff. It's all about veterans and everything and first responders. So I'll talk to Richie and see when we can get you on there.
Now,
Super.
we did have another question from
Please.
Inversal Impact or Ivers. I don't know how to Impact.
Yeah.
Inversell Impact.
What do you think about people trying to take away the First Amendment? Now, I know they are actively trying to take up the First Amendment. I mean, look at us on Facebook. We're constantly getting shadow banned. Every time I show a firearm on Facebook, they lose their minds.
It blinks.
Yeah, look at Twitter. They banned Donald Trump from Twitter. So they have been, and the problem you will run into is as soon as they have the Second Amendment, every other bill will fall in line. Every other amendment we have will fall at that point in time because now we cannot defend it anymore. So I think this blatant attack, they are getting very bold. They're not even trying to hide it anymore on anything. They're actively trying to take away the Second Amendment. They're actively trying to take away the First Amendment. And if you say something that offends somebody, now you're in trouble. It used to be where you could say whatever the hell you want. I mean, look at comedians nowadays. Comedians have to tiptoe on what they say.
Right.
Because as soon as they say something offensive, they'll never find another venue that they can perform at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's something else on here. But yeah, the First Amendment, that's what all the shows are about on the Bill of Rights Network, on WO Entertainment, and other places out there. It's freedom of speech. If you don't like what we're saying, shut it off. Go find something else to watch.
And you will
That's the
learn the
easiest
hard,
way.
you will learn the hard way. We had this last week. We had a troll come in and talk shit. You will learn the hard way. We support the First Amendment
Oh, yeah.
wholeheartedly. I will stop everything I am doing to focus on you. I will give you the attention you want, and I will make you look retarded. I'll make you look like Florida man's bastard brother. And if you don't watch the At 1700 Somewhere show, I do that really, really well.
Yes, he does.
So I love getting haters in here. I love getting people that hate the First and Second Amendment because I can utilize my First and Second Amendment actively to show them why it's important to have the First and Second Amendment.
Carl, if I could add something as well on that chase the wolf thing, it's
Okay.
for people to understand it better. It's not the four-legged wolves I'm chasing in the wild and such as that. I mean, there's places that they've reopened some hunting for the wolves, and people have their own thoughts about hunting or what they think about in shooting wolves or whatever. I mean, I support the Wolf Conservation Center out of New York. That's one of the charities that I donate to, and I talk about on the show. The wolves I'm talking about are two-legged wolves. They are the criminals, the thuglians, the terrorists, the corrupt politicians, the corrupt government itself, the radicalized people. It doesn't matter if you're a white supremacist or a BLM or a Antifa, whatever. Anyone who's hell-bent on destroying this great nation of ours, that's the people that I'm talking about. The people that myself, my team, the production team, everyone talks about chasing after. I write about it. It started out with wolf bits, little bits and pieces, and always ended it with Chase the Wolf. And I do that with my radio show. It's always ended with Chase the Wolf.
That's awesome. But yeah, and I agree with you. It's just like teaching our kids and everything. Just like right now in schools, they've stopped teaching cursive.
They've stopped teaching cursive. They have stopped teaching a lot of history.
Right.
A lot of people are pushing to stop teaching World War I because it's offensive to the students. Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. As much as people like to argue that history is linear, it's actually cyclical. It's a big ass circle. In fact, there is a professor that states that every 80 years, it's a long enough time frame for people to forget what has happened in the past for a repeat of that scenario. And look at 80 years ago, we had the Great World Wars, and with them actively trying to take away firearms, I think we're going towards another civil war, in all honesty. But with that, I don't think teachers have a right to teach bias in schools.
Right. But what I was getting at, the school districts have told them to quit teaching the cursive.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I can come up with it is there's a document that's wrote in cursive. And if you don't write cursive, you can't read it. What better way to destroy our country than our young people that cannot read the Declaration of Independence?
Oh, yeah.
Amen.
When I heard that about the cursive and that popped in my head, I was like, that's not far-fetched. What they're trying to do is our young people, our older generation, we have mouths and we have words and we're not afraid to use them, right? The younger generation, if they can't read that document, they don't know what rights they have.
And I'll tell you the biggest argument I have with that one is a lot of people forget that the Declaration of Independence protects the people from overthrowing a tyrannical government. That is in the Declaration of Independence. A lot of people take that as, no, that was a declaration that the American people at that time. No, this was not a declaration at that time. This is a rights and liberties given to all people of the United States, here, now, past, present, and future, to stand up, defend themselves, use the freedom of speech, use freedom of the press. No housing soldiers. You can have guns. You can do whatever you want. And yes, I can agree with them trying to make you forget cursive because the fact that bill, that huge, important ass piece of paper was
that, and they don't want them putting their signature on anything. They're all going to be on these cards or these chips
that are tracked.
I had a young officer come in the other day, and I asked him to sign his name on a fingerprint card, and he didn't know how to sign his name. He could print it, but he didn't know how to sign it. 19 years of age, didn't know how to do it.
Oh my Lord!
Now I know most cursive. I forgot a little. I forgot more than these kids will ever learn. I'm sure y'all are in the same boat, and that's saying something, seeing as there's a 30-year gap between the two of us, or three of us. But But the fact that
Young
I have
kid
forgotten more,
young
yeah,
kid over there.
I resemble
the-
that comment. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fact that I have forgot more than these kids are learning, and the fact that you have forgot
Yeah.
more than I am learning, states such a bad image about our schools nowadays. And again, I want to go back to a lot of schools teaching political bias now.
Mhm.
You have no right. Your job as a teacher is to educate the people on both sides. You can have your political bias, but you cannot force that. Like, I don't agree with actors, actresses, sports figures being able to talk about their politics. You're too influential for these children. You're too much of a key player. You have too much publicity, and these kids are taking everything you have at face value. They're not taking it with a grain of salt. They're not looking into it. They're just, oh, he believes this, I believe this. So you using as a very entitled individual, you have millions of dollars, you are famous, you have all these platforms, you don't understand struggle like you used to. Those that went through, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he understood struggle. He understood the importance of getting the green card the right way. But a lot of these newer ones are, kids of these actors and actresses, or already had money. They don't understand the real value of a proper education and understanding your rights and liberties as we the people. Yes, I can agree. He also says that the South is not smart in the traditional way. We may not have degrees, but we do have experience. And
Exactly.
Experience will trump college every day.
Well, what was it, Carl? Carl, in our day, it was a lot of trade school type stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
there was a lot
in
of
the
2-year
in the
trade schools.
South.
And you went in, you learned that trade. You didn't have to take all the other bull crap that went with it. You went in and learned it, got out, and got a good job.
Yeah, I'm
And
one
you
of
were-
the few people that did get a trade education. I was a licensed iron worker. Unfortunately, I did destroy my back doing it. But I learned how to weld. I learned how to build schools. I learned how to build shooting ranges. I learned how to read blueprints. Going into the Navy, I got to see more schematics and diagrams.
Yeah.
There's a benefit to that education. Unfortunately, because I don't have an education, finding a good paying job now, being injured is quite difficult, which is the whole another benefit of the ranch is I can do something I really enjoy, and I will never work another day in my life because of it.
That's
You know,
like
if-
growing up like I did and everything. You worked on a farm, you worked with your grandpa in dump trucks and everything. If it didn't work, you found a way to make it work.
Exactly. And we are so far away from that. Nowadays, something breaks and people are like, and I am guilty of this every now and again because I hate electronics. Every time I try and play with electronics, I usually get shocked. But if it breaks and you can fix it, then fix it. And it's just like a relationship. Just because it's broken doesn't mean it can't be fixed.
This one's down in your neck of the woods. I'm from North
Hey.
Carolina. You think these leftists are going to know how to build guns in a civil war? I'm not asking for it, but it happens. We would slap them. Let's be real.
He's right.
Exactly.
It's going to be a fight with dildos and ARs.
Yeah.
Your words hurt me. Well, these bullets are going to hurt a whole hell of a
Yeah,
lot
they're going to
more.
hurt a lot worse.
I love, and we see more and more of it. I can't wait for them to pass bills so we can break into your homes and take your guns away. Okay.
Mhm.
Dude,
Ain't
I've
gonna
been
happen
waiting.
here.
I've been waiting for you to do this for a long time. I think my personal favorite is a tweet. Somebody said, if I see somebody open carrying, I'm going to pepper spray them, put them on the ground, take their gun, and wait for the police to show up.
Good luck on that.
Any
Yeah, well-
hostile intent, if they have a license to carry, any hostile intent, meaning if you intend to pepper spray them, hostile, they can utilize that gun. And I guarantee that dude with that firearm is more trained than you are with pepper spray. Are you downwind? Are you upwind? Do you know how to release the safety mechanism on some of these pepper sprays? That guy knows where his safety is, and he's probably got a round in chamber. And it doesn't matter what side of the wind he's on.
And if he's a good shot, he'll just shoot the can out of their hand.
Well,
Scare the hell out of them. Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
It's and that's why we stress the importance of a proper training and education with your firearms. So that way, if these scenarios do arise, because more and more of these idiots are pushing to come and confiscate your guns themselves. Your government doing it is one thing. Your government doing it is one thing. You as a citizen trying to confiscate guns is a whole new ball game. Because the majority of police officers that I've ever had the opportunity to talk to, if something does go wrong and you were trying to confiscate the firearm, or the government was trying to confiscate firearms, or they were told to confiscate firearms, they're not going to do it. In fact, there have been several states that state they will deputize their citizens and allow them to defend themselves from entities trying to confiscate firearms. There's already been an ATF member that has been arrested for trying to confiscate firearms.
Yep.
There's more and more states that are backing up saying, if you as a federal agent come into our city, district, state, whatever, if you try and confiscate firearms, we're going to arrest you. Of course he has to.
Look at
What's
that,
that?
sweetheart.
Well, he's needy as hell, but Pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves being on the show and showing y'all his ass. The sad part is he does bring up China. The sad part is China is waving the American flag because they value the American flag as its representation of freedom. The American no, he's a boxer. He's full-blown retard boxer. I also have a black lab mix, but he is special. But yeah, the China citizens, when they were protesting, they were waving the American flag. And that saddens me that another country is willing to pick up our flag before our own citizens. When did this become an image of hate? When has this ever been an image of hate? If you read your history books and you learn from it, it is freedom. And the flag does not fly with the wind. The flag flies with every breath of a fallen soldier.
Yep.
So if you hate your flag that much and you hate your country's beliefs and why it was founded. Now, I support my country. I do not support my government. That is two completely different things. I love my country. I have all the pride in the world for my country. But the fact that you are willing to disgrace this flag, burn this flag, go to these countries that have your socialist ideologies, these Marxism extremists, go to Russia, go to China, go see how it really is. If only there was a history book that teaches people why socialism and communism fails. Oh, wait, there are. That's been an actual comment from people. Why aren't there any books that teach real socialism, real communism? Because many countries have tried socialism and communism and have failed many, many times. So if you don't like it here, you just need to leave.
That's basically right.
Stop trying to change it just because you don't like that I have guns. Just because you don't like what I say doesn't mean you have any right to tramp. You can argue with me all day long. And I've told people, if you want to be on this show, I am more than willing to bring you on, whether you are of the same or different opinions, but you will remain respectful, educated, informed, and polite. The second you degrade,
belligerent, anything like that.
If you become an asshole, you're gone. I have no problems with bringing people on here.
If they can come on and do an intelligent conversation and debate, I don't have a problem bringing them on here. But yeah, if they get out of hand and get belligerent, that's the nice thing about StreamYard. I can take them right off.
So you have no right, just because you don't like what I say or do or have, you have no right. And yes, you're right. They like to blame it on us. You're always the hostile, aggressive. Look at how they handled the Capitol storming. I don't want to call it a riot because it really wasn't a riot.
No, it was a storm.
But they
are calling patriots and veterans terrorists at this point in time. They're trying to make us out to be the bad guy, which when you control the media, it's really easy to do. And that's why we like to do this show, because we will cover more accurately. So I can't agree. There's two platforms I think need to be less biased, and that is school education and mainstream media.
Yep.
But unfortunately, money is always going to rule the world.
Anyway, tell everybody how they can check out our merch.
Yes, it's time for, and we have a new design. He is getting the logo on it as we speak.
It'll be out probably tomorrow.
Yeah, we have a new merch design. But, Mr. Carl, can you get that link posted right now and get the, yep, there you go. You can go to teespring.com and you can find our original merch line right now on Teespring. We do have a link posted in our Discord as well as on our Facebook. You can go to the Facebook page. We do have a shop button right now that you can access and find all of the Second Amendment Ranch's merch. They come in many different colors, fits. We have men, women. I think we got children's. Stop licking the plate, you jackass.
Yeah, I think we got some children's, but
so if you
we
want to
got
support
sweatshirts, they're in different colors.
if you want to support the Second Amendment Ranch, here's how you can do so. Go to teespring.com and check out our merchandise. We have cups, glasses, bottles, shirts, pants, masks.
Yep. But just go to Second Amendment Facebook page. At the top of the page, there's a Shop Now button. Hit it, and it'll lead you right to this link.
Exactly.
Outstanding.
Now, Mr. Carl, can you get our new design up there? I think a lot of people are going to be excited for this one.
Let's see.
This was designed by my buddy Travis here in Texas.
Oh, yeah, I can
And
do it this way.
And I think he has done an awesome job. So you can look forward to either tomorrow or the next few days picking up our new merch design. You gotta have to duck.
Wow.
Right there. So Travis, thank you very much. We are looking forward to getting those out there.
Yes, Travis, thank you very much. That'll get put in and designs, and that's going to go on shirts, coffee cups, and everything. It'll have our names on it, Second Amendment Ranch. That's awesome.
So we really
That's
appreciate that.
Yeah, that's another reason you can do this with the green screen.
You know, so be looking forward to always improving merch. We're trying to have plenty out there for you to be interested in. Again, all you have to do is go to the Facebook page and click the Shop Now button, and it'll take you straight to our website.
Right.
So,
and we have our other shows out here, the Wake Up Gallatin and the HTX Renegade Radio Show is on the Bill of Rights Network up here.
Yep. Any questions? We've got a few more minutes left. If you have any questions, now's your time to post them here.
Yep.
And we will answer them as fast as we can. If you have a topic you want us to cover as well. Again, last week we had somebody request muzzleloader do's and don'ts. Fix your face. He likes to chill with his teeth out. If you have any questions, comments, gripes, rights, last alibis, anything like that, if you have a topic, again, we are willing to cover any topics you want to ask about, as long as they pertain to the Second Amendment. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you can always reach out.
Yeah.
So
reach out to the Facebook pages, Bill of Rights Network, Second Amendment Ranch,
Discord.
any of those pages there to get a hold of us about being on the show. Even comment in the chat room.
Yep.
Our last 3 guests have came out of our chat room.
Exactly. So we have no problems bringing you on.
And this goes to show you we have real good followers in our chat room.
Exactly. How does China
we're
have
good.
22 border disputes with random countries, but the left-wing media wants to blame India for starting a war?
That's China.
Yeah, that's not so much second related as more of political.
No. But Dan, where can they find your radio show that you do?
They can go to our website, ichasethewolves.com. That's ichasethewolves.com. They can also hop over on blogtalkradio.com/Chase the Wolf. We are on Facebook and Twitter as well with the CTW Media Group. But yeah, ChaseTheWolves.com and look up over on blogtalkradio.com/Chase the Wolf.
Awesome.
I
Awesome.
appreciate y'all for letting me come on today.
Oh, it was a
Oh,
blast
no
having you.
problem. You're welcome here anytime.
Hey, Carl, check your private
Thank you,
comments in StreamYard real quick. would you?
Yeah, I probably know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But what's my favorite gun? Oh God. As far as video games go, I love using the Scar H, which is why I want to get one. As far as real life, God. As far as damage and capability, I have to say it's going to be the 338 Lapua. I have a Ruger precision rifle and 338 Lapua, but it's real close to the 50 Beowulf, which is a AR-15, believe it or not an AR-10. And it is pumpkin orange. It's such a pretty gun. But as far as reaching out and touch, it's so hard to say what my favorite gun is. I'm also waiting to try and find a Taurus Raging Judge Magnum or a Marlin 1895 SBL, which is a 45-70 caliber. Yeah, asking me my favorite gun is like asking a fat guy what his favorite food is. It's so hard. It's so hard.
Mine are all of them. Every single one that I own are my favorites.
Exactly. Same here.
Yeah, it's and again, you know, any gun has its specific purposes. So, you know, trying to say what's your favorite gun for home defense is easier. Saying what's your favorite long range gun, it's easier. Saying what your favorite plinker is, that's easier because it gets into specifics for that gun. But saying just blanket, what's your favorite gun?
Right. Well, we got a couple minutes left. Anybody in the chat room? Guest, co-host, anything you got to say?
Any
before we close
requests
out?
for next week's topic? No? Going once?
Let's see. We want to thank everybody for watching on WO Entertainment's Facebook page, watching on the Second Amendment Ranchman page, and Twitter,
Yeah.
Twitch. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We
Yeah.
always appreciate finding
Share
new,
the
new
show
viewers.
out. You like it. More people listen to it. The views, you know, like and subscribe, all that good stuff, as they say.
Yep.
We are all Americans. Exactly. Exactly.
Which is why I find it hard we don't have that many viewers. I figured more Americans would want to support something like this, but it's okay. We're working on it.
Well, it's a new show type thing. We've been doing this, 2 months now?
Something like that.
2-3 months. We're just getting it out, getting it around, and you know, everybody's getting out there. We're sharing it out. So
No.
we're building everything up on it.
Yeah. But we appreciate you coming in. Anything else to add, anybody?
Yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely. Y'all are welcome to come on my show anytime. Whether it's a particular topic that you all want to do, or some of the stuff that I do. If you go to that ChaseTheWolf.com page, you see I've kind of launched it out, weeks in advance what I'm going to be doing. You're welcome to hop on there anytime as well. I appreciate it.
We
well, we
appreciate
thank you.
that.
Thank you very much. So
All right.
with that all being said, and I guess we're going to end the show. It's getting that time.
Now,
So my name's Carl.
my name's Cameron, and
I'm
thank you,
Dan.
and welcome to the Second Amendment Ranch, y'all.